Good morning, everybody. Sunday, the 31st of January, at the end of January already. Not too much to report. We're continuing with our routine of masses, or the information available on the parish website. We'll wait to see whether we'll be celebrating Easter together or not. I think things have gone on so long now, so many coming up a year, that we're not going to take too much for granted. It may be a bit beyond Easter before we're back to normal, but we wait and see. Not too much to say really about today's readings. Our Lord begins his public ministry with the casting out of evil spirits in the synagogue at Capernaum, reminding us of these spiritual realities, that there is we are part of a vaster cosmic conflict, as it were, spiritual conflict. There are such things as evil spirits, angels, or spirits that refuse to serve God's creation. But that reminds us too of the positive side, that there are spirits who do serve God's creation and care for us and protect us. And perhaps in times of pandemic and things like that, maybe we can up our prayers to the angels and pray for their help and their protection. The second reading, St. Paul speaks about celibacy. And just a word about that, there's so much nonsense in modern times written in the church about celibacy that it's maybe worth pondering the example of St. Paul and his teaching. Celibacy isn't a medieval invention. It's rooted in the gospel, in the example of Christ, in the example of St. Paul and his teaching, and has been part of the life of the church since apostolic times, that one commits willingly and freely to a single life for the service of the church, an expression of a different kind of spousal love, the gift of oneself in this greater covenant, of which natural marriage is just the sign. Natural marriage, this great natural good that God has created at the pinnacle of his work, it points, of course, to that covenant between God and his people, which is to be enjoyed in perfection, is to be consummated in the life of heaven, pure, fruitful ecstasy of life with God. The priest and religious commit themselves to this way of living for the service of the church, and as a sign of that union with God which is to come in the life ahead. In fact, every time the priest stands at the altar, of course, in a way, he stands in the shoes of Christ, and Christ is proposing over and over again in the Mass this covenant of love. And by our participation, we are responding. We're saying, I do, I will. We're accepting or returning, reciprocating that commitment that God has made to us. So you see there's a connection between also the role of the priest representing Christ the bridegroom, and also his celibate way of life, a sign of that commitment to the church. So while celibacy has all sorts of practical benefits, it saves the church a lot of money, not having to look after priests' wives and children. It makes life more convenient for the bishop when he wants to move priests. But those are secondary things. The life of celibacy is really rooted in that identity of Christ and the gift that he makes of himself to the church.